Emily Hart was once the woman everyone envied, stylish, successful, and seemingly in control. Jason Cole was the man who gave her that spotlight. But when he walked away, Emily didn't just lose love, she lost her identity. What followed wasn't heartbreak. It was a descent into obsession, manipulation, and a chilling plan that would leave one woman fighting for her life and an entire town stunned by the truth. This isn't just a breakup story. It's the unraveling of a mind determined to rewrite the ending, no matter the cost. Emily Hart lived her life like a performance, every detail polished, every moment curated for admiration. Her social media was a gallery of perfection, sunlit brunches, designer outfits, and a relationship that looked like it belonged in a magazine. She was dating Jason Cole, a tech entrepreneur whose rising startup had made him a local celebrity. Their life together was aspirational, the kind that drew envy and admiration in equal measure. But beneath the surface, Emily's world was built on fragile illusions. Her identity was deeply entwined with Jason's success, and the relationship had become more than love. It was her anchor, her validation, her entire sense of self. When Jason abruptly ended things, citing the need to focus on his company and personal growth, Emily's world didn't just shift, it collapsed. She didn't cry or beg. She froze. The breakup wasn't just emotional, it was existential. Without Jason, she didn't know who she was anymore. The apartment they once shared became a haunting reminder of everything she had lost. She stopped going to work, ignored her friends, and began retreating into herself. Her days blurred into nights, and her thoughts grew darker. She started scrolling through Jason's social media obsessively, analyzing every post, every like, every new follower. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was surveillance. She created fake accounts to monitor his activity, tracked his location through apps they'd forgotten to disconnect, and saved every photo he posted. Her obsession became ritualistic. She wasn't just watching, she was documenting. Every image of Jason smiling without her felt like a betrayal. Every glimpse of his new life was a knife to the chest. Emily began journaling, not to heal, but to preserve her version of the story. Her entries were filled with bitterness, confusion, and a growing sense of injustice. She wrote about the sacrifices she made, the dreams she gave up, and the humiliation of being discarded. Emily's unraveling didn't happen overnight. It crept in slowly, like fog swallowing a familiar road. After the breakup, she withdrew from everything that once gave her structure, her job, her routines, her friendships. She stopped responding to emails, let bills pile up, and barely left her apartment. The woman who once thrived on control now lived in chaos. Her days were spent scrolling through Jason's social media, refreshing his feed obsessively, cataloging every post, every comment, every trace of his new life. She wasn't just watching, she was studying. Every detail became a clue, every interaction a threat. Her obsession grew methodical. She created burner accounts to bypass blocks and privacy settings, each one crafted with fake names and stolen photos. Through these, she infiltrated his digital world, following his friends, liking posts from his colleagues, and even messaging people close to him under false pretenses. She built a web of surveillance, convincing herself it was necessary. She needed to know where he went, who he saw, what he said. It wasn't jealousy, it was strategy. She began logging his movements, noting patterns, and saving screenshots in hidden folders. Her laptop became a shrine to a life she no longer belonged to. Emily's appearance changed too. She stopped wearing makeup, let her hair grow wild, and dressed in oversized clothes that masked her figure. She avoided mirrors. Her reflection no longer matched the image she had spent years perfecting. But she didn't care. Her focus had shifted entirely. She wasn't trying to reclaim her old life. She was preparing for something else, something final. Her thoughts turned inward, looping through memories and imagined conversations. She started journaling again, but the entries were no longer emotional. They were tactical. She wrote about Jason's routines, his vulnerabilities, and the people he trusted. She listed names, addresses, and timelines. Her handwriting grew erratic, her tone colder. Emily had been teetering on the edge for weeks, but the moment she saw the photo, she fell. It was a casual snapshot, Jason smiling beside a woman Emily had never seen before. They were seated at a rooftop bar, drinks in hand, the city lights behind them. The woman was everything Emily used to be: polished, confident, effortlessly radiant. Her presence in Jason's life wasn't just a replacement. It was a confirmation that Emily had been erased. That single image shattered the last thread holding her together. She stared at it for hours, zooming in on every detail, memorizing the woman's face, her jewelry, even the way she leaned into Jason. It wasn't jealousy. It was rage. Emily smashed her phone against the wall, sending shards across the room. She tore through her apartment, ripping clothes from hangers, knocking over furniture, and screaming into the silence. Then she vanished. For 3 days, no one heard from her. Her social accounts went dark. Her location was untraceable. When she finally resurfaced, she was changed. Her hair was dyed a dull brown, her wardrobe stripped of color, and her eyes carried a cold, vacant stare. She had shed her old self like a skin. The woman who returned wasn't grieving. She was calculating. She began researching the new girlfriend obsessively. Her name, her job, her routines. Emily found her LinkedIn, her Instagram, even her Spotify playlists. She built a profile, not out of curiosity, but out of necessity. She needed to understand her target. She started showing up at places the woman frequented: coffee shops, yoga studios, boutique stores, always at a distance, always unnoticed. She wasn't stalking. She was studying. Every movement, every habit, every vulnerability was logged. Emily wasn't looking for confrontation. She was looking for opportunity. Emily's plan was unfolding with eerie precision. She had spent weeks building a new identity, one that allowed her to slip into the life of Jason's new girlfriend without raising suspicion. As a self-proclaimed freelance photographer, she crafted a believable persona: stylish, soft-spoken, and eager to build her portfolio. Her fake website featured stolen images, her social media accounts were carefully curated, and her pitch was simple: free headshots for women in creative fields. It was the perfect bait, and the girlfriend took it without hesitation. The first meeting was brief, casual, and seemingly harmless. Emily introduced herself using a fabricated name and complimented the woman's style and energy. She offered a free shoot at a quiet studio she had rented under yet another alias. The girlfriend agreed, flattered and unaware that she was being drawn into a trap. Emily left that meeting with more than a scheduled appointment. She had gained access. She now had the woman's phone number, her trust, and a reason to stay close. Behind the scenes, Emily's obsession intensified. She hacked into Jason's email using old passwords he hadn't changed. She installed spyware on his devices through phishing links sent from fake accounts. She monitored his calendar, read his messages, and tracked his location. Every detail was logged, every interaction dissected. She wasn't just watching anymore. She was controlling. Her apartment became a command center, filled with notes, maps, and digital files. She had created a blueprint of their lives, and she was preparing to rewrite it. Emily's behavior grew more erratic, but she masked it well. She rehearsed conversations, practiced her expressions, and studied the girlfriend's mannerisms. She wanted to mirror her, to understand her, to dismantle her from the inside. The upcoming photo shoot wasn't just a session, it was a performance. Emily planned every detail meticulously. The studio was quiet, tucked away in a forgotten part of town where no one asked questions and no one noticed who came and went. Emily arrived early, dressed in neutral tones, her hair pulled back, her expression unreadable. She set up the space with meticulous care, lights positioned for soft shadows, props arranged to suggest authenticity, and a camera placed on a tripod, already recording. Everything looked professional, inviting, harmless. But beneath the surface, it was a stage for something far more sinister. The girlfriend arrived on time, cheerful and unsuspecting. She complimented the space, chatted casually, and followed Emily's directions without hesitation. Emily guided her through poses, adjusted lighting, and offered encouragement. Her voice was calm, her movements smooth. There was no hint of tension, no sign of what was coming. The shoot lasted nearly an hour, a blur of smiles, angles, and shutter clicks. But as the session neared its end, something shifted. Emily's demeanor grew colder, her instructions more abrupt. The atmosphere changed, subtle but unmistakable. What happened next remains partially unknown. The camera continued to record, but the footage was later found corrupted, fragmented, and incomplete. Investigators recovered only brief clips. Emily adjusting the lens, the girlfriend laughing, a sudden blur of movement. Then silence. When police arrived hours later, responding to a tip from a nearby tenant who heard crashing sounds, they found the studio in disarray. The lights were shattered, props overturned, and blood smeared across the floor. The camera was still running, its battery nearly dead. Emily was gone. The girlfriend was found unconscious, barely breathing, with injuries that suggested a violent struggle. She was rushed to the hospital and placed in intensive care. Her identity was confirmed, but she had no memory of the attack. The trauma had erased the details, leaving only fear and confusion. Emily's disappearance was as calculated as everything else she had done. In the hours following the attack, she vanished without a trace, leaving behind a scene that was chaotic but strangely clean. No fingerprints, no DNA, no personal items. Her apartment had been stripped of anything identifiable, no photos, no documents, not even a toothbrush. Investigators found only a few scattered receipts, all paid in cash, and a laptop wiped clean. It was as if she had never lived there. The woman who had once obsessed over control had now mastered invisibility. The manhunt began immediately. Police issued alerts, circulated her photo, and tracked her known aliases. But Emily had planned for this. She had multiple fake IDs, burner phones, and a network of prepaid rentals across several states. Surveillance footage showed her boarding a bus out of town, wearing a wig and oversized sunglasses. After that, she disappeared. No credit card activity, no phone signals, no sightings. She had become a ghost. But Emily couldn't stay hidden forever. Her need for control resurfaced in subtle, disturbing ways. Jason began receiving anonymous emails, cryptic messages filled with fragmented sentences and blurry images. One showed the girlfriend's bloodstained necklace. Another was a photo of Jason sleeping, taken through his apartment window. The messages were unsigned, but the tone was unmistakable. Emily was watching. She hadn't just disappeared. She had repositioned herself. She was no longer chasing Jason. She was haunting him. Investigators traced the emails to a motel in Nevada. When they arrived, the room was empty. The bed was made, the trash was clean, and the only item left behind was a journal. Its pages were filled with erratic handwriting, sketches of faces, and disturbing phrases. One entry read, "She took my place. I took hers." Another simply said, "Control is peace." Jason stared at the USB drive for hours before finally plugging it in. The video opened with a flicker, grainy, dimly lit, and silent. Emily sat in front of the camera, her posture calm, her eyes steady. She looked different. Not broken, not angry, just resolved. She spoke slowly, deliberately, as if every word had been rehearsed. There was no apology, no remorse. She didn't explain what she had done or why. She simply said, "You erased me. I rewrote the ending." Then the screen went black. The timestamp was recent. She was still out there. The video reignited the investigation. Authorities traced the package to a mail drop in Arizona, but the trail ended there. No fingerprints, no surveillance footage, no witnesses. Emily had mastered the art of vanishing. Her ability to move undetected, to manipulate identities, and to stay one step ahead had turned her into a myth. Online forums buzzed with theories. Some believed she had fled the country. Others claimed she was living under a new name, blending into a small town somewhere, watching the world forget her. A few even suggested she was still near Jason, hiding in plain sight. Jason's life had become a fortress. He changed his routines, installed more cameras, and rarely went out alone. The girlfriend, though physically recovered, remained haunted. She moved to a new city, changed jobs, and refused interviews. The trauma had reshaped her life. Emily's presence lingered like a shadow, unseen but always felt. Every knock at the door, every anonymous message, every unfamiliar face in a crowd triggered fear. The case was technically open, but no new leads emerged. Emily had vanished, but her impact remained. Months passed. Then, another package arrived. This time, it was addressed to a local journalist who had covered the case extensively. Inside was a single photograph, Jason, walking alone, taken from a distance. On the back, written in red ink, were the words, "Still watching."